Welcome, episode 261 of the Scarlet Faithful podcast, coming to you on Monday, January 8th. Busy weekend for Rutgers sports. Wanted to recap a few things, some big recruiting news for both football, women's basketball, wrestling continues a good start. Talk a little bit about men's hoops, as well as a lot of Rutgers, former Rutgers players going to the NFL playoffs. So let's start with Rutgers football, adding defensive tackle Malcolm Ray, transfer from Florida State. He's a Florida kid. He was in the rotation on the defensive line this past year, played in every game, all 14 games, started 5. He played 274 snaps, so he wasn't the primary defensive tackle. Over time, I think, got the third most snaps of any interior lineman on the defensive line. That's a very, very good defense that Florida State had. Not counting the bowl game, which obviously a slew of factors there, a lot of players opting out, but that was a very good defense. You get a guy that has legitimate experience and success there. You know, he wasn't dominant, but he had his moments. He had 10 stops in the season. That's, in terms of his snaps, is actually kind of high on that team. And listen, Rutgers really needed a defensive tackle through the transfer portal. They've lost Maya Nahanatu to graduation, Isaiah Eaton as well, and they needed depth there, right? We talked about several times this offseason already about the defense needing to improve, and defensive line is an area I think depth-wise Rutgers did not develop as much as they had hoped in the season. And now you have a core coming back. You have Keontae Hamilton, of course, Troy Rainey. You had Zaire Angoy, who developed at times over the season, showed flashes. But I think bringing in Malcolm Ray gives you that experience factor, that Power 5 experience as well, big game experience, everything. So can he develop into a bigger role at Rutgers? I'm sure that's the selling point there. But regardless, you're adding talent and depth along a defensive line that has to get better. And that's a big recruiting win. First week of January through the transfer portal. Rutgers is now 4 players added through the portal. Both of Calais McManus' brothers, Ethan, the quarterback from Minnesota, and then his brother Dino, the wide receiver, and as well as Demir Miller, the FCS All-American at Monmouth. I have a podcast coming out. I'm going to put it out, I think, later today. This being Monday. I had an interview with a Minnesota site about Ethan Calais and his time at Minnesota, their firsthand view of how he played with Shiraka as offensive coordinator there 2 years ago. So I'll have that come out later today. But football, and then also adding Austin Riggs, long snapper from BYU. He's a grad transfer. Rutgers looking to shore that spot up in terms of this past season. They went with the freshman, Jake Eldridge, and then also had Michael O'Connor. They kind of rotated a little bit. Eldridge was more on short, long snaps, and then O'Connor on longer ones. But they kind of split duties. So I think the hope now is you have Austin Riggs, the guy who played at BYU for 4 years, a little bit older, come in, provide stability there. So obviously we knew the staff was going to look to upgrade the roster in every spot possible. And this is what they're doing, right? They're finding pieces to the puzzle every way they can. And that's significant this weekend to add 2 guys with Power 5 experience and older guys that you can bring in and you hope make a big impact next season right away. Women's basketball. Huge news for head coach Coquise Washington, adding 5-star guard Kiyomi McMiller, New Jersey kid, Burlington life. She was pretty highly touted. What I think also is intriguing about her, I mean, she's a number 22 player in the ESPN Top 100. She's averaging almost 30 points a game at Life Center Academy in Burlington. She's talked publicly about, it being a show, and she's going to bring this program personality. She's the first high school player ever to sign an NIL deal with the Jordan brand. So she's pretty high profile, and obviously on the court, looking to make a huge impact. She's not a big guard. She's 5'8". She's going to be part of the recruiting class that Rutgers already got forward forward Zakara Perkins, who's has New Jersey connections as well. So Kokius Washington continues to recruit at a high level. We know the roster, is missing pieces just in terms of depth. They've been hurt by injuries this year. Iowa Sidibe is out. Kaylee Smichael, their leading scorer from last year, has missed a few games. Maya Petticord, the transfer to Texas A&M point guard, she's missed some games. So the depth has not been there. They're off to kind of a rough start, winless in Big Ten play. They have a 1-point loss at Purdue. They just obviously played Iowa this past weekend. Caitlin Clark coming to the rack. They had a tough loss at Northwestern. They're now at Ohio State, which is a tough one. And then they have Penn State at home, which is, I think, their best chance to get a win in terms of their upcoming schedule in the next couple of games. But Kokius Washington has a plan. She knows what she's doing. She's really made some inroads with some high-level recruits, both through the transfer portal and now recruiting at the high school level. That class upcoming is looking really good. And also to get a big recruit in the state of New Jersey for her is a big deal, and certainly something to be excited about. If you follow women's basketball, I think, it is a slow build, but I think I like her patience. She's not just adding pieces to add pieces. She's picking and choosing her spots, and she's putting the work in on the recruiting trail. The staff is as well. So good development there. Rutgers wrestling, 2 big wins this weekend. They beat Penn 22-14 on Saturday, and then beat Rider 31-5 on Sunday. They're now 7-1, heading into Big Ten play this coming weekend. They host Indiana on Friday, and then they're at Purdue. I'm going to have Eric Vesper, our wrestling contributor, on the podcast soon to break it down. One, kind of great story from the weekend was Michael Setta at 149 pounds, had 2 big wins, including a ranked win against Rider. Of course, I lost the page there, but he also started Rutgers off positively in this. It was an untraditional start at 149 pounds, and he beat Andrew Trzynski with a takedown and ended up winning that bout. And then on Sunday against Rider, he was able to pull the upset over Quinn Kinner of Rider, who's ranked, I believe, 22nd. So good to see him emerging in the middle of the weight class there. Dean Peterson had a rare loss. Rider, he was up to number 2 in the rankings. But, Dylan Shawver won again. Mitch Moore is looking like a really good ad from Oklahoma. You had Jackson Turley back on the mat against Rider. He had a takedown, a fall. Saldano won. Pazanski is looking really good. And Yaroslav, heavyweight, top 10 guy, has been really solid. So this wrestling team is looking really good for Scott Goodell. And we'll have more on the team later this week. Wanted to also touch on NFL playoffs starting next weekend. And a little bit of personal anecdote there, but Bo Melton. I don't know if you've been following Bo Melton, but he has emerged for Green Bay Packers. I will publicly admit it's my favorite team. I've rooted for them since the Don Majkowski age. I'm aging myself. Don Majkowski era in the 90s, 89, 90. And, I wasn't expecting, well, I guess what I would say is over the years, I've always wanted a Rutgers player to play in Green Bay, and there's been very few, and none have really made a huge impact. And then now you have Bo Melton on a receiving core that's wide open, has had some injuries. He's been on the practice squad, and he's played fantastic for them the last 3 weeks, and he led them in receiving yards. He had 105 receiving yards 2 weeks ago. Yesterday, he had another 5-6 catches, 60-plus yards. So I'm so excited to see him in the playoffs for Green Bay, and just Jordan Love, what he's doing there as a rookie quarterback, first-year starter, but to see Bo Melton emerge in a town that obviously just adores football, and he is already kind of becoming a fan favorite out there. So lots of Rutgers players. Credit to Bori Blanco on Twitter for putting it all together in a tweet. But you have a lot of players in the playoffs. Obviously, Pacheco with the Chiefs, Gus Edwards with the Ravens, Sean Ryan. He's on the practice squad for the Ravens, but Duron Harvin still kicking with the Browns. Fadokazi's with the Rams. Tyler Croft still kicking with the Dolphins. Sebastian Day landed with the Niners recently, so he's in that defensive rotation now. Logan Ryan is also on the Niners. They have a really good shot to go to the Super Bowl. And then Christian Izzy, the rookie, with the Tampa Bay Bucks. it's going to be really fun to see all these Rutgers football players in the playoffs. It's always been good for the program to get that publicity out there, and you got some high-profile guys now. So I think obviously good vibes there, and something to look forward to. And then just wanted to end this episode talking about Rutgers hoops. Obviously, very disappointing loss on Saturday at Iowa, and I had a whole reaction episode just in terms of the loss and kind of the state of where things are for the season. In last place, 0-3, huge opportunity Tuesday night at the Rack, and I'll have a full preview on Tuesday morning. But they're hosting Indiana, who's 3-1 right now. We know Rutgers has very good history against Indiana. 8 of their last 10 they've won. Beat them at the Rack last year. This is certainly a good get-well opportunity for Rutgers, and they just haven't been able to find any level of consistency. I think this, part of it's scheduling. I mean, they hosted Illinois, who was arguably the hottest team at the time, and they had 2 difficult road games. Ohio State is a difficult game. They're a top 4 team most likely, but Rutgers, played great in that second half and almost pulled it off. And then I think that was why Iowa was so disappointing. It's never easy to win against Iowa. I think Iowa has just traditionally been a bad matchup for Rutgers, but it was the fact that they played so far behind for so long in that game. And we just haven't seen a true identity emerge for this team. Listen, that win against Seton Hall, really stands out as a high watermark, but also what the potential of this team can be. I think this past week, they played 4 halves on the road and only one was they played well. So that second half against Ohio State, otherwise they did not play well at all. They've obviously shot really poorly for the season, but in particular as of late as well. And I think it just speaks to the flow, the lack of flow on offense, the inability to generate enough transition offense through their defense. They are rebounding better, which is a good sign. Credit to Andre Hyatt, Mawat Mag. They're really leading that charge along with Cliff. But I think their starters, they need more. They need more from the starting crew. I don't know if Peichel shakes it up or not. I kind of didn't suggest. I mentioned as a possibility in the episode over the weekend. And I think that, this team just needs to change the mentality. And I think that, we are hoping to see them get off the mat. There's still plenty of time. Obviously, 0-3 is not, ideal in any stretch of the imagination. I know a lot of people don't have hope that this team will get any better. But I think you could point to the fact that they really can't shoot much worse than they're shooting. This team is tracking as the worst 3-point shooting team of the Peichel era so far. But I don't think that that's indicative of their potential. And obviously Gavin Griffiths is struggling. JaMychal Davis is a freshman thrust into a bigger role. He's learning as he goes, but I think he offers a lot of positives. He's brought them really positive energy. So is Austin Williams. I think the confidence level of this team has to improve, and they need more leadership on the court. They need more communication. And I think that, Tuesday night is a huge get-well opportunity. Indiana, they're not a good shooting team. But they are, Ware is really good inside. They have a lot of talent. Mackenzie McBaco will be at the Rack. It should be a wild environment. And the Rutgers fan base has been tremendous at home this season. 7,000 fans for Stonehill. So this is certainly a big opportunity for everybody. And you got to start somewhere. The schedule's not going to get any easier for the next few weeks. You have road games at Michigan State and Illinois. You have Purdue coming to the Rack. So even Nebraska, it's not an easy game whatsoever. February, the schedule looks a lot more manageable, but you gotta keep your head above water before that. So really interested on the response on Tuesday. I think, it seems like some fans on social media, message boards and stuff just kind of jump at the chance to make kind of big sweeping judgments of the program as a whole. And I think that that's a bit short-sighted. And I really just want to see this team get an identity back, on the court. And I think to have any long-term concerns is unfair. Short-term concerns, of course, this season, is not going the way that anyone wanted it to. But it's also early January. So while they, don't have a lot of time left, there is still time. And you got to take it one game at a time. And I think that Tuesday night, Indiana has proven as an elixir in the past. and this is a chance to get some momentum for this team and get some good vibes going. And it's going to be, in terms of their energy level, urgency level, they need to play connected, of course, but I think just they have to play smarter, so I'll have more in a preview on Tuesday. I'm going to have an episode coming out late Monday or Monday afternoon on Ethan Kaliakmanis in terms of the Minnesota perspective. And hope you like this summary of just covering all the, recruiting news for football, women's basketball. Try to, touch base at least weekly on all the other sports as well. And spring is not that far away. So hope you have a great week. Thanks for starting your Monday with the Scarlet Faithful podcast, and I will talk to you soon.